Yes.
All right. Welcome to the podcast. Today, my guest is Wazza Bray, commonly known as Wazza.
Why would you do that? What
Why?
a shocking start.
No, that's all right.
No.
I'm being technically correct.
Yeah, yes, fair enough.
Sorry, my guest today is Wazza.
There you go. That's easier. All right. That's a pretty easy edit too.
Is it?
No, but you'll be right.
So we've known each other for a reasonable amount of time.
It's got to be, well, I got here in 1997 to the Gold Coast and I met you maybe 12 months after we got here, something like that.
So I would have already had a daughter. Because Yvette was born in 97. I thought I met you before Yvette came along.
No, we moved here on 7th of January 1997. My 30th birthday.
Oh.
We rolled in, yes.
So that's a... Well, I guess
Great way to spend a 30th. In a panel van full of equipment driving up from Albury. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So what got you started playing music? What was the thing that sucked you in the first place?
So my old man, it's curious because, I'm adopted, right? So, and I've always known that I was adopted. From as early as I can remember. And the greatest thing about being adopted, of course, is that, any girl you ever go out with could be your sister. So just as a rule, I just used to, after about the third date, back when I was dating, it would be, listen, can you just go home and ask your parents what they were doing in April 1966, just in case. My adopted dad, and I was adopted at 6 weeks, as a baby. So my dad, Jeffrey, was a drummer. So there was a drum kit at home.
Okay.
And so I sat in with his band when I was 5. That's my earliest memory of playing the drums. And just for one song. And he was into, big band, like Buddy Rich.
Gene Krupa.
Yeah, Glenn Miller, all that sort of stuff. But you can't mention Krupa's name to Jeffrey. He thought he was rubbish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Buddy Rich. Krupa was a showman, Buddy Rich was the technician, that sort of thing, the Don Bradman of drums. But the interesting thing I've found is that, rhythm, I think, is genetic. You've either got rhythm or you haven't. We see the rhythmless, they walk amongst us all the time, bless them.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with them, the rhythmless, they're there, but
Please teach your friends to clap on 2 and 4.
Oh my God, the 1 and 3 clappers, they're allowed to roam free and they pay the same tax rates as none of that's fair. But so I had rhythm, but then nurture over nature. There was a drum kit there, and my dad played the drums, so I started playing the drums. Started when I was 5, and then my next memory really of drumming's a couple of things at school and everything like that. But there was a drum kit set up in the lounge room. And then in 1980, so when I was, 13, the Back in Black album came out.
Oh, man.
And I just went, that was it. I came home from school every day and played that album from start to finish every day. I loved it. It was just, and I've been brought up on Buddy Rich.
So you're a Phil Rudd fan?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I just love the songs. I love the guitars and I love the melodies and everything.
It's a great landmark album.
Yeah, it was
Really?
simple to play, which made it. I like that.
Well, seemingly
as well.
simple.
Yeah. Yes.
It's one of those things that Phil Rudd has a thing going on that everyone goes, oh, it's really easy. And it's like, well, if it's so easy, why can't you do it?
Yes. Yeah, Phil Rudd. And that was his thing. I mean, it just...
What was the joke? The only Phil you ever need to know is Phil Rudd.
Yes. Yes. And the thing about, did you see the interview where there's I talk about Brian Johnson did an interview where Phil Rudd's in the studio cutting drums and there's just this bit of paper stuck to his mic cymbal stand. And after about a week, Brian Johnson went in and looked at it, and all there was just a photo of a great pair of boobs that he'd just been watching for inspiration. Politically correct, no, but that was my, that was the thing that I went, I really love playing drums to that record. So that sort of kicked me along at that point.
that was 80. I was 16.
Yeah, so I was 13. Yeah. And, enjoyed sport, always loved playing team sport, not that great at it. Played a bit of tennis, that was okay, but...
You're a big AFL fan.
Yeah, love
Did
love
you ever
sport.
play AFL?
Just at a junior level and very badly. Yeah, it just wasn't built for it, didn't have much skill. But back then too, the other thing was where I was from, being in a band was not cool.
Really?
No, being involved in music it's a very much sport-based town, I think. So going through school, there was orchestra type opportunities, but I had no idea what I was doing in that space. The first band came along really at about sort of, once I left school with a couple of guys from school and some people I've met round about. So that was the first opportunity to form a band and actually, do shows and all of that.
Did you ever have any formal lessons?
Not till I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah, I decided I should get lessons, and then the guy who taught me was a guy named Bob Bickerton, great drummer, played with, he was out at Billy Hyde's in Melbourne, and he played with Mondo Rock and everybody, a real technician of a player, amazing guy. But it was just, I'd bring a couple of cheeseburgers and when I'd go to my lesson, and then we'd just sit there talking about drums for a while and having a few laughs, and then the lesson would be over. And he would say, "Have you practiced?" I go, I didn't really practice, no. So I was never into I like songs. I liked playing songs. I like melody. I hear in rhythm, but I like melodies and all of that sort of stuff. So the idea of sitting there practicing the drums, just playing, double strokes and all of the rudiments and that, just it never really interested me. And I never really had the discipline for it.
But you do know your rudiments.
I know what they are. I can see them. I can't do them very well. And I don't know whether that was just, I wasn't passionate about it, so I didn't want to do it, or I just thought it was too hard or whatever, or I just, I'd try to practice the rudiments and have a metronome and all that sort of stuff. But then I just want to get into the songs and start mucking around with melodies and lyrics and all of those sorts of things, where the other parts that I like hook. I love the hooks of songs, which sometimes the hooks are the drum parts, which I also enjoy.
Because I guess one of those things is in the world of drumming, you're one of the rare drummers that can actually sing.
Yes, sing-ish. Sing adjacent.
Sing adjacent.
She's not my 1/8 of an octave range carries me.
You do okay. And
well.
you do like the concept of words and lyrics? Yeah.
I love entertaining people. I think that's the foremost thing. I just enjoy entertaining people. And so playing drums can be a part of that. You don't dance if there's not a beat and a rhythm to dance to, so that's a great way to have an impact.
Yep.
And then being able to sing a little bit, I love hearing great harmonies. When you see those really great harmony bands, you just sit there and just go, this is ridiculous. So I love all of that stuff. So I like to participate in that at whatever level I can. And then it's the banter, just entertaining people, getting a laugh out of a crowd. You want people to go home with an experience that they've had a great night and seen something memorable, and so I've always been drawn to that.
When I met you, there was always running into people who were from Albury.
Yes, they are everywhere.
And I'd have people come, "Is that Wazza from Albury?" And people would come and say, "Oh, he used to play this drum kit with the cymbals were trash can lids."
Garbage can lids,
Garbage can lids.
Back in the days when you had metal garbage bins, yeah. Yeah, I had a kit with 2 garbage bin lids. That was great. I had a garbage bin bass drum once too.
Why?
Well, the garbage bin bass drum was because we had a cow band. So we had a band called Waikika Moo Cow that only sang songs about cows. So we had Living Next Door to Angus, and we had, a Marvellous Night for a Moo Dance and Wild Cow instead of Wild Thing. And we played at a steak restaurant on a Wednesday night. It just did cow songs. It was so much fun.
there's a very entertaining factor about
Yes.
taking it to another level entertainment-wise.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
Were you playing with Millsy at the time?
Yes, well, yes.
How did you come to meet Millsy and how did that transpire?
Well, I had my first band.
By
Simon
the way,
Mills.
Simon Mills is a wonderful keyboard player, singer,
Yep.
who Wazza worked with for quite some considerable time.
Yeah,
we did other activities outside
we had a
of
jingle
music.
company together, and Mills lives in New York now. He's been there for 20 years or something.
Yeah,
and we're still very close, and I hang out with him whenever we get the chance. So I played in this band called No Exit, which was the first kind of professional band that I played in, all with guys 5-10 years older than me, which was so good because I learned so much playing with those guys, just about trying to keep time and not being a knob and, you know, all of those wonderful things. Back in the glorious days before random breath testing, might I add as well. So there was just even driving to the gig was a heap of fun. But they were excellent musicians and really good singers, and so I learned a lot through them. And then I'd known Millsy because I knew who he was because he played in another cover band called Peking Duck, and they were very good. And I was just walking home one night to go to my girlfriend at the time's house, and she lived in a block of units, and there was a house at the front of that block of units, and Millsy lived in there with a couple of the guys from his band. And I just heard the piano playing and lifted up the window. The old style windows that had the two sort of latches on them, just lifted up the windows and proceeded to fall through the window and land at Mills's feet and look up and I'd obviously, you know, I'd had a couple and looked up and just said, "Oh, g'day, I'm Wazza, I play the drums." I said, "Oh, I'm Millsy, I play the piano." And ended up staying at his place for the whole night.
Oh, wow.
And then didn't have any issues with having a girlfriend after that because that kind of ended by, you know, not turning up when I was supposed to. And then over a period of time, we just ended up getting in a band together, which was called Ring London, and it was just me and Mills and a sax player named Dave Amster, and we just started doing shows, and that was part of the time I played drums, part of the time I played percussion, sometimes went out front and sang and did all that sort of stuff, and that's where the garbage can lids came into it, and just trying to do.
That still doesn't
things.
Explain the garbage can lids.
It was it was a visual gag, you know.
Oh, okay.
Just have something funny to do and something that you could get, you know, a punter up on stage if you wanted to, and they could have something they could hit and not damage your gear. And so yes, we had a magic show at one point in the show with a Cabinet of Death, with Lance Copperfield's Cabinet of Death or something like that, which was just a road case that opened up, you know, like that. And all we did was put a black curtain that side. So I get in the road case, Mills would spin around, and I just changed sides. And it was the worst magic thing you've ever seen. And people didn't get it. No one got that joke either. They just looked at us funny. But Millsy's a great player, and so we had that band going for quite a while.
Yeah. So obviously at some point when you're doing the band, you start doing radio or doing jingles for radio. Did the jingles come first or doing a radio show come first?
We used to do parodies in our live show. And one night at this, you know, every kind of a smaller town has the pub, and the pub in Albury used to change between sort of 3 different pubs seasonally, in joint for a year or two, and then all of a sudden everyone would magically go to another in joint. And so we were at the Termo, and this guy came and saw us one night named Steve Segali, and he was the brekkie host on B104.9, which was the, you know, FM station back then. And he said, "You guys are great and you're a bit funny. Would you like to come on the radio show on Friday morning?" We do this thing called Friday Live. You know, we're good to have a live band in. So we went on and did it once, and then he said, "That worked well. How would you feel about coming back every Friday, and we'll have you as a live band in the studio, and it will be the only brekkie show with a live band. You know, there's no money in it at all, but it's good PR for your band. whatever. So we said, well, okay, we'll do that. And then as part of that, each week we wrote a parody song. And it just grew. It just went really well, to the point where we were, I think in a 2-hour show, we'd only played 2 songs and one of them was ours, And we doing crazy calls and just mad banter. And we had this radio play that we'd do. Oh, that was a bit later on, actually, when Big K took over as the Brekkie host. We had this radio play called Tangent Man that Mills would write, that no one was able to look at the scripts until such time as we did it live. And it was about Tangent Man. So you'd have some story and it'd be some ridiculous story, but the end line would be a play on words. So rather than 2 wrongs don't make a right, it'd be 2 sarongs don't make a kite. And everyone had a role. I was wrong consonant Matt. The newsreader had to wrap it up, and Millsy would write his script and just litter it with profanity. And he's live, and he had to actually pick through it and work out what the story was and do it. It was just mad stuff. So yeah, we went on. The radio show grew, much to our surprise, and it ended up outrating television news in our little local area in the Albury market.
It's a big thing.
So yeah. So it was great, and we did 2 albums of all the parody songs and everything, and so yes, and out of that came writing jingles.
Okay,
which was my recollection of this is, and this might not be exactly right because it was a long time ago, but Mills and I had started playing with Phil Emanuel, guitar legend, and we were going to do a national tour with Phil. I'd quit my job. I was a typesetter at a newspaper.
That's what I remember you were doing.
So I quit that job, spent all the money on a rather nice Signia Premier kit that I think Bob Bickerton had got me an endorsement on because we were playing with Phil or something. One of those buy 'em at half price jobbies.
Yep.
So spent all the money on that. Millsy shut down his piano tuning business. We quit the radio show because new owners at the station anyway, so it was,
Is this around the time where Kahuna moved on? Because
yes, he came up
here. He talked
here.
about the fact that there was a change in ownership. And
no way we were getting away with all the stuff that we had gotten away with previously. We were disgraceful. So, and then there was a dodgy promoter or something, and the tour with Phil never happened. We found out 3 days before we were supposed to go. 95, 96.
Okay, so that was after I did my stint with Phil.
Okay, yes.
I was 80s Phil.
Okay. No,
when he was still a bit younger.
Well, this is how we met Julia Parker. Jules was 16 or something and just started playing with Phil as this young prodigy. That's how we met Jules from Hussey Hicks. So anyway, no tour, no job, no money, no gigs booked.
Wow.
So the only thing we had, Millsy had a young daughter at the time, 2 young family. The only thing we had was jingles. Like we'd had a couple of people go, "Oh, you write the funny songs on the radio. Could you write a funny song about my business?"
Yeah.
And then said those 3 beautiful words, "I'll pay you." And so, so that's how we started our jingle company, out of just desperation and need to actually earn a living.
When there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, when you're hungry, there's a way to do anything.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
hungry.
That started in Albury.
Yep.
How long did you do that in Albury? Because I know obviously there was an eventual move up to the Gold Coast.
Yes. So the old general manager of the radio station, Rob Mulhook, now the state member for Southport, he'd moved here to take over CFM. Big K had moved here to be on CFM.
Yep.
And then we were managed by a guy named Bernie Stall, who was Cole Elliott's manager, because we'd done a couple of tours with Cole as his backing band. Well, we'd done some work with him. We might not have toured with him yet, but so we were thinking of moving to Sydney because we'd kind of outgrown Albury from the jingle company perspective, and but we thought we'd get swallowed up in Sydney. So because we had a few contacts here, we moved here. So that was 97. We came up. Bernie got us a week at Twin Towns, which included accommodation.
Oh, cool.
Right. So we had to remember when they used to have the old showroom, right?
Yeah.
So we had the showroom gig for for a week.
Yeah, which involved
Not the big room.
it involved you do an early set, and then you had to do the dinner show,
a show set,
and then you played later on after, and it was
Yes.
just a regular party on
yeah,
later on.
Yes,
But you had to do it was a 1 hour show,
yeah,
something like.
yes. So we had, but the reason we loved it was it gave us a hotel room for a week,
Yeah.
so that we could go and find somewhere to set up business and life and everything. So we rolled up to do this. Our show was absolutely deplorable. We had a 3-headed Elvis with Spud, our roadie. No, Fraggle, our roadie. Spud, our former roadie, stayed in Albury.
Fraggle. I remember Fraggle. He was a lovely man.
Fraggle's a great bloke.
He's a great bloke.
I was Madonna with the pointy boobs, and I had a little baby with pointy boobs as well that I somewhat mistreated during a Madonna song. Millsy did this Joe Cocker thing where it was a bit of a takeoff of John Belushi's takeoff of Joe Cocker, where all he did was we'd put plastic over the front row of the audience, and he'd come out on stage and just spin around a lot like a drunk bloke and smash cans of beer. But it was great because it was a character that got us a free carton of beer as part of the show. So we'd smash 12, drink 12. And then we had our guitar player didn't move up with us. He stayed in Albury. So we got Chris Camzelis, who's been on
great player.
Great player.
Great player.
So Chrissy was 20, would have been like 21, 22.
Oh, wow.
And we got him through. The thing that happens where the guy we originally after couldn't do it, so he put us onto a guy who knew Chris, and have you got a week in January? Could you come up to the Gold Coast? And so Chris came up. We never met him until I picked him up on the way up here. I just went to his house and picked him up in the van, and we drove.
Who are these crazy
Drove 10
guys?
hours, and Chris was like good-looking young guy, like rig. Abs, the whole thing, everything you hate about people. He was all of that. And a great guitar player and a sweetheart of a guy. And I don't think he'll remember any of this, so hopefully he doesn't see it. But on our first couple of nights, and we were all crammed in one hotel room, right? And we gave him a spot where he just did, I think it was Guitar Boogie or something like that, just a shredding,
Yeah.
And so while we were getting changed out of Madonna and whatever we were doing, and then he kept, the first 2 nights of the 5-night run, he gets girls coming onto him and brings one back to the hotel room, right? And, young single guy just out there living life, not doing anything wrong. But we're trying to sleep because we're up early to go look at properties and try and figure out where we're going to be. So I said after the second night, I can't. And like Millsy, being Mills, the alpha, he took the separate room. I'm crammed in there with me and Fraggle and Chrissy Potatoes, Chrissy doing his whatever Greek things he was doing with these people. So I ended up on the third night to go to introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen, our guitar player tonight has come all the way from Sydney to be here. He answered an emergency call. His name's Chris Camzelis. He's an amazing player. And what's even more incredible about him being here is his darling wife has just had twins, Arlo and Argo Camzelis, and he left her. They were only born last Thursday. That was it. No more girls for Chrissy for the rest of the week. Just going, you sod. Yes, it was fun. So that facilitated our move here, and we found a shed that we could hire. And
was that the place out at
Bailey Crescent?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that was just
in Southport.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So built what was a very makeshift studio. Didn't have any furniture, so we rented some place, and for the first 2 weeks or something, Fraggle and I were just sleeping in the blacks from around. You hung around the back of the stage.
Yeah. I do remember
brutal.
that.
Yes, because we had a truck that we could bring stuff. We just bought the studio, and then the plan was
you had a big truck. A big truck.
Big truck. Go back to Albury 6 weeks later and go get all our stuff and bring that up. And so she was a pretty rough landing when we got here. But, it was fun, and we were
You were very
enthused.
resourceful.
Millsy was very resourceful, yes. The way that he could actually... there were days I remember days where we were living on like $3 worth of hot chips. That was between Fraggle, me, Millsy and his wife Molly. Yeah, that was it. And if we got some cash, we'd go to Southport Workers Club because they did a $2 roast on Friday. And that was, so there was a few, that first 18 weeks, because the reason that happened, I'm just remembering, we did a big New Year's Eve gig in Albury, which for 1997, it was, so 1996 New Year's Eve, it was a 10 grand gig, which was
good money.
Solid gig.
Yeah.
Yep. It was us and there was a Kiss tribute band and someone else.
Ah.
And then it wasn't as well attended as people would have hoped, outdoor gig and everything, and promoter nowhere to be found at end of gig, and so no money. And truck packed, leaving, no money.
Oh, no.
So, yes, so that's why we were on the we had our
so
money.
there was a
from
plan,
Twin
but the
Towns.
money didn't come through.
We were
which sort of-
underfinanced, yes.
Yeah.
Which is
Wow.
probably not an uncommon story.
Well, yeah, people have been diddled out of their dollars before.
Yeah, in every industry. I mean, not just the music industry, but mainly the music industry. Still happens today. What is it?
Yes,
the
it
music
does.
industry is a seething pit of despair, a quagmire of hell where good men and women die like dogs on a daily basis. And there's also a downside.
Yes, that is. Who said that?
There's a movie about him. Johnny Depp played him. Hunter S. Thompson.
Ah,
Yeah, that was
you
one
go.
of his.
The jingle company was called London Music Group,
Yep.
which later became LMG Digital Media.
Yep.
Which is still going now.
And now it's LMG Creative.
Oh, now it's LMG.
Well, because we realised we weren't a digital media company. Like, we're not so good on the naming of stuff. Yeah, but we merged with a company called Photo and Film. So we were doing just all audio.
Yes.
All jingles. And the hardest part about being a jingle company is, in America it was different. In America you pay royalties on jingles every year, like the client does. In Australia they're buyouts. So the problem was, the better we did our job, the less people needed us. You know, so on the Gold Coast we're most known for the ASAP glass jingle.
Yeah.
Right? Mainly
It's
because...
a very recognisable ad.
And because
they're still using it.
Yes, and they've spent the money to smash radio for years and years and years. But I think, we've done one other job for those guys because they haven't needed it. The jingles...
It works.
It works.
Everybody knows it.
Yes, so
it's
we kept
very
having
memorable.
So no repeat, not much repeat business. We had to keep going and finding new clients every month. So that's why we started to do a few jobs with Kelly from Photo and Film, and then we just decided to merge the companies and get into...
Because you used to go out too, I do remember, and have meetings set up with clients constantly. When we were playing together, that we'd be doing a late Monday night at the Shack, and Wazza would have to be up at 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
And then we would be doing a late Thursday night, and then you'd get up and do Friday Live on radio.
Yes. We continued that when we got here, which was it was a help and then it was a hindrance, because it was a help that it grew our profile, but it was a hindrance because the challenge when we did Friday Live, when we started doing it on the Gold Coast, we turned it into this thing where ring up, give us a subject, and we'll write it in 20 minutes and come play it live. So brought a bit of urgency to it, a bit more entertaining. But then we started getting people going, they're going, how much a jingle? We go, it's $3,500. I'm not paying that. I see you. You write these songs in 20 minutes. Well, yeah, it's not quite the same animal, sir, but yes, I understand. So it was one of the reasons that we sort of stopped doing Friday Live in the end. It wasn't a... like Weird Al Yankovic had monetized the parody thing really well. He was kind of the guy who got to do that. No one else had been back at that stage. And this was before social media and everything, right?
Yeah.
So as CFM grew as a network, Friday Live went out with it as well. We'd have a local version and then we'd have a version that went out to network.
Yeah.
So we're on 40 or 50 stations or something like that. But and BMG once came and said, hey, we want to look at releasing it as a comedy album. By the time they worked out what they'd have to pay for the royalties on the actual songs we were doing parodies of, then by the time they worked out what the defamation lawsuits would be for the subject matter, I remember the guy saying, it will be the most expensive album ever produced in Australia.
Just purely on those grounds.
Just without you even recording anything, re-recording anything. So that idea died at that moment. It was fun for the 10 minutes we got to think about it.
Yeah.
Then we sent him the song list and what the actual songs were. He's going, what are you guys? We had that Anthony Mundine one that was pretty brutal, and I love Dick, which always always went well.
Dick Smith. I love Dick.
Yes. Dick products, Dick cream, Dick juice, all of the Dick Smith stuff. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Dick heads. It won an award. We won a radio comedy award for that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Fair enough.
God bless Dick Smith.
Yeah.
All of his. And he did have Dick cream, and he did have Dick juice, and he had Dick bickies, and he had Dick jam. I love Dick. I remember the intro used to go, this is a song about how much I love Dick, how much you love Dick, and how much we all love Dick. And if we all had a little more Dick in our day, Australia would be a better place. Anyway.
Yeah. But you're still doing some Friday Live stuff now?
No, we finished.
Just recently.
Finished it, but end of last year.
Midway
through last year, yeah.
Well, it's only just a new year.
Sponsor dropped off. And then it was just, again, it's just, look, when Will Smith slaps Chris Rock, Friday Live's easy.
Because you've got content.
10 minutes, song's done, Boom, slap Chris across the room. Like, simple.
Yeah.
When there's nothing in the news, when you don't have a slam dunk, it could take 2-3 days to write. And then it's just so, now the economics of it don't work. Yeah. The time just doesn't work. And again, there was an initial plan to move it to national, but then ownership of radio stations changed hands and that all fell away. So, it's a great creative outlet. I still enjoy doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But at some point you got to go, look, it's
the
not
time involved is not worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So, we played together for, I don't even know how many years, but it was quite a few.
Yes.
And that came out of, initially you and Millsy had a band and you used to play the Beach House Band.
Yes.
And that's where right. You had Jules Parker playing guitar.
That's right. And Big K helped. And he was the driving force behind that. Yeah. Putting that together.
Yeah. That was an incredibly successful band.
Yes, for a year or whatever, year and a.
I guess
it didn't go that long.
Obviously Millsy dropped away from that in the end, and was that due to the studio going really well?
Yeah, and I think he just kind of
lost the
motivation. He wasn't that interested in just playing cover stuff anymore. And I think the Beach House situation with the Beach House band changed as well. There was sponsorship involved and everything that fell away in the end or something like that. So it just
because when we started doing, because you were still doing the Beach House band when we had started doing Bizarre Gardening Accidents up at the Rose and Crown, because we'd do Wednesday nights.
Yes.
And then I had my own other band, and you had
Bite Me.
I had Bite Me, and I had Holly playing drums, and Dave, Dave Allen playing guitar.
Dave Allen, yeah.
And I had
Holly, great drummer.
Yeah, and we had the lovely Joe singing.
Yes, that's right. Joe and Anna, the Kiwis.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's right. The Bizarre Gardening Accidents.
And I think we were doing Wednesday at the Rose and Crown. Then I think with the Bizarre Gardening Accidents. Then I did Thursday night at Billy's Beach House, and you were doing Sundays at Billy's Beach House.
Yes, yeah. And then I don't know that lasted that long before we ended up just almost combining the accidents and Bite Me into just But the original Bizarre Gardening Accidents with the mics hanging upsides down and all of the shrubbery that got laid down and
we themed the stage.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and all the overalls and everything. That was with Damien Barnard.
Yeah. And we originally started out with a different bass player. Barnard wasn't the first bass player we had.
I thought Barnard was the first and Jason was the second.
No, Jason was the third. Remember we had another guy from Brisbane when we first started. There was another guy before Barnard.
Wow.
And he didn't last very, very long.
No.
We had another guy play bass for us for a while. And then Barnard joined the party.
Barnard, what a machine.
That must have been a lot of fun.
He's no longer with us, but he was a ripper.
Yeah, that must have been quite a fun thing from your point of view, from a drummer's point of view, having someone like him play bass.
Oh, yes. Damien was an aggressive bass player. It's that weird, and this might be different for other drummers probably, I'm not sure, but it's like in the Who Follows Who category, because there was no tracks in that band or anything like that.
No, we played everything live.
Just rocked and rolled. So, it was almost like in a traditional thing, you go, the drummer lays down the groove and everyone plays that. But Damien was such an aggressive bass player that you kind of followed him. He kind of put it where he wanted it. He drove it.
He's very driven player.
It was such a pleasure to do that. And he was ridiculous. I mean, he was such a talented left field unit by all means. But wow, what a player! Yeah,
he really did bring an energy level, and particularly because we were a three-piece.
Yeah,
it really made it a viable happening thing. It lifted the energy level of the band quite considerably.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Then we've moved on and gone, okay, well, I think, was it Damien moved on, or because we talked about when Beach House Band slowed down or was changing thing, and we talked about getting a girl singer, because I remember then we were auditioning, we ended up getting Miss Brooke Supple.
Yes, got Supple, yes.
And then I think from there, the Beach House didn't last very much longer than that, because I think that's pretty much from when we started with Brooke, we moved to the Sugar Shack.
Yes. Yeah, it wasn't that long. There was a period of Thursday night uni nights or whatever it was at Billy's, that was just a wandering crowd, like, dollar drink days. Imagine that now. Oh, responsible service of what? Dollar drinks.
The place was chocker packed.
1,000 people in it.
Wall to wall.
At 9:59 p.m. and at 10:01, nobody, because they were all off to cocktails and dreams for the next dollar drinks night.
Yeah.
They were uni students, so they just wanted to get hammered for as little amount of money as possible and then try their luck with each other.
Yeah, but I do remember when we were doing the Sugar Shack on a Monday night, it was chocker packed.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was the industry night. Yeah. Remember old mate the juggler who was in the show at
the casino?
At the casino,
yeah.
Who used to get a few under his belt and then he'd start juggling Corona bottles to impress the girls. He was hilarious. I can't remember his name, but he was playing all cards.
We had the boys from the law firm, the Massive, whatever they were called. Brooke used to call them the Massive.
Oh yes, the Massive. Yeah, the lawyers.
And they used to come in and do their dance moves.
Box dancing or whatever it was. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
They were fun days.
Yes, yeah, that was.
And that was that. You talk about responsible, like you say, we have the responsible service of alcohol thing that happens now. And I think at the time when we were doing the Shack, from my memory of it, they were clamping down on the dollar night thing.
Yes.
The licensing was saying you can't do that. It's irresponsible. You're encouraging binge drinking.
Yes.
We must stop that.
Yes.
So, and Billy Cross was looking after the Sugar Shack, and I do remember we had a meeting with him where he basically said, now I'm going to give you guys unlimited drink account. Unlimited.
Yes.
And you must go out into the audience and buy the audience members drinks.
Yes. Glorious. Yeah. It was, look, the drug culture wasn't as big back then. The party drug culture didn't really exist. People went out.
Social media didn't exist the way it did.
Social media didn't exist at all.
So in order for people to connect and meet other people, they would go out and socialise and drink and meet other people.
It was the slow progression or procession that you used to see. Start of the night, everybody's had probably had a couple on their way in or, at home beforehand. Come in, slowly get more and more hammered as the night went on. When you get to the end of the night, you've either hooked up or you haven't. And if you haven't, you just wander off and you go get a kebab and load up again for tomorrow night.
Or straight across to the New York pizza across the road.
Or straight across the New York pizza or off to the whatever the next club was. And that environment was conducive to you could construct the whole night set-wise because you knew what you were going to be doing in the last set versus to the audience. Remember,
we were very strict, I guess, about too, because we were playing there as a resident band every Thursday, Sunday, Monday.
Yeah.
We would learn, I think we had a rule. The rule was like 3 new songs every week.
Yes.
I'd sing one, Brooke would sing one, and you'd sing one.
Yes. Yeah.
So
and
we all had
the words learn. I mean, you had to learn them because you had to play guitar. I would kind of listen to them on the way in the car, but they were well-known songs, so it wasn't that hard.
I remember initially, I mean, we did a bunch of Eminem stuff, and I do remember that you actually learnt the songs properly initially.
The words I did.
The words?
Yeah, the drum parts not so much. Because,
I thought you played them pretty well.
Well, he doesn't. They're almost like they're
all
pretty
machine,
simple beat tracks back then. But yeah, lyrically, you can't muck around with Eminem because it's so fast.
You did though. You changed.
But you had to learn to breathe. You know, and you can throw a line every now and then.
Yeah.
Change a line around, but you can't mess with the structure because the limited opportunities you've got to breathe in Eminem songs is. Yeah, I love most types of music and I appreciate all of them. Like I'm not a metal guy, but I appreciate what those guys can do. Mm-hmm. It's just, I've seen the vision of the Parkway Drive 20th anniversary tour that they've been doing. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness, like the production values and they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
But the Eminem and the, not the mumble rappers, they do my head in a little bit, but the guys who can really nail it and enunciate. So, you know, Eminem's amazing at it. This girl, Doechii, have you seen her? She was on the Grammys. Oh, where she's done this Tiny Desk concert. She's phenomenal. She's the speed at which she can get lyrics out and you can understand what she's saying. Like you can follow the story.
Oh, okay.
It is, she's phenomenal.
I really enjoyed watching Ray.
Okay.
On the Grammys. Yeah, Paul Murray, Paul Murray, local guitar player, plays in her band.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing, which is really cool.
There's a lot of talented people on the coast.
Yeah, there has been. And there has been and still is. And people move here and decide to make it their home.
Yeah.
People from all sorts of places.
Yes.
Even from people from Albury.
Well, even in the film industry, I remember someone telling me once, like there's 6 Oscar winners that live here.
Oh, wow.
For Oscar, one in their particular film, editing, costume design, set construct, all of those things. Well, Robbie Bull probably knows all of them.
Maybe.
Robbie, because he's from that world.
He is from that world.
And also lovely drummer.
He's a lovely drummer.
But it was a fun time to be in a band back in that pre-social media, early 2000s. It was probably...
And so we moved on, we spent a few years there, but we eventually moved on to playing at the Avenue on a Thursday night.
Yes.
And that became our residency.
Long Island Ice Thursday.
I remember Wine and Cheese Thursday.
Yeah, Wine and Cheese Thursday.
We had
Bring a wine and cheese platter.
We had a few different themed Thursdays.
Yeah.
But I do remember that when we first moved there, the deal was unlimited drink account.
Yeah, which you could never take full advantage of yourself because you're driving and you're playing and you've got to, carry gear and all of that sort of stuff.
But I do remember the night that Ben, the manager, walked in and said, "Guys, I've got some bad news. We're going to have to limit your drinks to $500.
Yeah. Which,
if you think about the way things are with venues now, it seems really quite funny.
Yeah, well...
But I remember at the time it was like, this is you've got to be joking.
What is this indentured servitude bullshit you're pulling, Ben? Yes. He was a good fella, Ben.
I guess that's one of the things I've noticed the changes quite dramatically. Is there any other changes that you've noticed from when you first started out playing to what's going on now? What other major changes would you say there's been?
Well, I mean, click tracks and electronic drums has probably been the biggest one because of all the volume things. Mm-hmm. So
wearing in-ear monitors?
Yeah, in-ear monitors. I mean, I've always, since I started having to play with click tracks, I've embraced it and loved it because I rush a bit. I know once I get excited and I tend to put the foot down a little bit, and there's just no arguments when there's click. Mm-hmm. In the current situation playing with Casey, I have click for the whole show and the boys get it at various points to help with count-ins and stuff like that. But there's just, so that really, I think the amount of, you can rarely afford to have 8 guys, girls in a band anymore. So you try and sound like 8 people.
Particularly if you're traveling.
With 3. Yeah, even if you're just playing local shows, you can't, the dollars aren't there like they used to be. So So that was a big change, having to get used to playing electronic drums, which I, as you will remember, fought long and hard against as being...
Some people still do.
Bloody bullshit, you know.
They've come a long way, though. That's one of the things that has improved considerably. It's not... I guess it's still not the same experience as playing an acoustic kit, but the technology with electronic kits has really come a long way.
I found I had to learn to play them. I try to play them like an acoustic kit, which is dumb because you just hurt your hands and you'll never get the attack back.
Yeah.
You'll never get that feeling of wood on metal, you know, rim shotting and all of it. Just as good as they make them, you'll never get that. But once I learnt to change the way I played, which wasn't dramatic, it's just, you know, I don't have to belt the daylights out of them. I'll find energy in other ways, you know, all of that sort of thing. And after that, I came to be fine with the experience of using them, you know, especially in the smaller places. I mean, I don't do many, I'm not doing many corporate gigs anymore, but some of the smaller ones I do. I've just taken my SPD SX pad and a kick drum thing.
Yeah.
And I watch the audience, you know, because you kind of get, you don't have the visual of a drum kit. I watch the audience at these shows I've done, and they do not give a toss.
No.
As long as they can dance to the songs and sing along with the songs. And it's essentially the same 50 songs that every band has played ever, which is hilarious. Like the scope of the amount of songs. Someone said to me the other day, so a stat came up, there were 75,000 songs a day getting uploaded to Spotify. And I was in New Zealand emceeing the Zarafas conference in December. And each night there was we kind of used the one band for all 3 nights, just different lineups of the one group of guys. And they were great. And they play the same 50 songs that we've been playing in every corporate band that we've ever played in, ever.
Yep.
I mean, and when it comes down to it, no matter how many songs are out there, Walking on Fucking Sunshine is getting a run.
Yeah, and Blame It on the Boogie is. And I Want to Dance with Somebody. And if you don't know those songs, you have no place playing in the corporate world.
Yeah, you can even, you know, I mean, I know you do themed shows and stuff like that as well, and you'll get... But you get it all the time. You still get that all the time. Oh, we want an all 70s night. By the time it gets to the second set, we've kind of done with the 70s now. Can we move on? So it's a small music universe that people like, which is... So it's been intriguing to me that hasn't... Because going back to your questions, what's changed?
What's changed? That's one thing that hasn't changed.
It hasn't.
Yeah.
Like in all of these years, we've been going at it, you know, for a long time, and it's still... We could walk out... And we try, you can try new things.
Yeah.
But if it's not going well, you just know to jump back to Jesse's Girl.
Yep.
Or whatever it is, one of those classic songs. And I suppose it's intriguing to me, and only time will tell, what are the next bunch of those?
Yeah.
I mean, of the more recent songs. And
there's I think there's a real 90s thing that works if you go back to doing 90s pop. And a lot of the stuff that we were playing, because... I guess one of the things that was really cool about the stuff that we were doing at the Shack was at that particular time we were playing the top 40.
Yes.
And we'd learn new songs every week, but it was always current top 40 songs that were getting played on radio, which is very different from what happens now. I guess the hard part about what happens now is radio doesn't dictate what's happening in the charts. Radio is sort of following to some degree what's happening on either TikTok or... And I guess I'm curious as to how people are learning about new songs and where those new songs are coming from and how it's being mass put out there for the masses to hear the songs.
There was an interview the other day with Ryan Tedder, who writes mountains of stuff for mountains of people. And he made the point that he doesn't write songs for radio anymore. He writes songs that have TikTok hooks.
Wow.
Because that's what's going to get you the cut through.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, popular music you've always had to have a hook.
Yeah.
It's like jingle's got to have a hook. You've got to be able to sing the first 2 lines and remember them.
It's got to be memorable.
Yes. But now that's just become amplified even more with the TikTok And I think songs don't.
So the application of "Don't bore us, get us to the chorus."
Yeah, but songs don't hang around like they used to. Like when's the next? If you in the last 10 years, songs from the last 10 years that would be staple, absolute, will stay in your cover band. We're having a night out. Watch the band dance.
Maybe some Taylor Swift. Maybe some Dua Lipa.
Swift.
Maybe.
Bruno's.
Yeah, maybe.
Stop.
Bruno
Wait a
Mars.
minute. What's that? Yeah, that thing. That's a staple. I'm talking songs that you're just going to hit because we need to get these people going.
Yep.
What song can we play? And it will put feet on the dance floor. That one does it. Probably Shake It Off will always do it. I don't know anything from the last couple of years that's got that absolute.
Yeah, a bit of Lizzo maybe.
Magnet.
About
yeah,
damn
although
time,
since she went mad and fat shamed the dancers and
oh man,
yeah, she's kind of, there'll be a comeback at some point. But I mean, her songs are really, those songs are great songs and all the rest of it. But yeah, it's interesting just what's out there that's gonna stand the test of time.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about one of the things that we haven't talked about, and obviously you and I stopped playing together. And there was a point there where you were stopped playing altogether.
Yeah, I've had about 12 retirements.
One of the reasons why you stopped playing was because you've got actually really quite bad arthritis.
Yes. So, yes, that like my joints are, there's that finger.
Because like when you were hitting a drum, obviously if you've got arthritis and you're hitting, all of that vibrations going up through your arms and through the rest of your body.
There was a point where that I couldn't, like the pain to get through a gig was just relentless. What is hearts?
So they're stuck bent, you can't straighten them.
Can't do anything with those. Like, luckily, you cradle a drumstick in that one. That one you can't even tell people to nick off properly because you're pointing it at yourself. That one, all you do is, I've directed about 500 people one door to the right of where they actually want to go. Like, it sucks. And my neck's stuffed, it's got 3 fused vertebrae and I've got ankylosing spondylitis and this elbow, I can't straighten those arms out. Like, it's just, I'm a skeletal nightmare. So there was a point where just the pain of drumming was too much. It was just, you're driving in knowing, this is just going to be
shite. It's going to hurt.
So then I got on a drug called Humira, which was, there's lots right with Australia, there's lots wrong with Australia. Our health system, even though it's not perfect, pharmaceutical benefit scheme, if I wasn't able to access it through that, it'd be costing me $3,000 a month to be on this drug. And that seriously changed my world because once I got pain-free, then I could get back into fitness and start enjoying drumming again. And so that was one of the reasons behind one of the retirements. And then there was just, I don't know, just got sick of it after a while as well.
We've done it for a long time.
I know I was thinking before, remember when we went to do corporate, leave the pub world, try and do corporates, and the simple idea was, we'll just play the same songs we're playing now, but wear collars. Which it was a strategic thing because the corporate bands at the time were playing a bit more 70s stuff.
And it worked.
And we went, hang on, we're mid-30s, so that's the people who'll be at the thing. Let's play them.
So yeah, we played current material to the audiences, and it worked really quite successfully.
Yeah, it was good there for a long while.
Because we were playing Black Eyed Peas, and we were playing Eminem, and we were playing all sorts of. Was it late 90s, early 2000s?
Yes. It was a great time in music too, in terms of fun songs.
At that particular point in time, there was still enough songs on radio that were being played by bands. Like there was still no doubt into Gwen Stefani and like actual songs by bands. And so when you go and play live, whereas so much stuff now is DJ inspired, produced stuff to the point where I remember a few years ago and we were looking at the top 100 and there was not even one song that had a guitar in it.
Great days. That's terrible.
But the world's it's changing again now, and that's coming around, and that's all now. Guitars are cool again.
Yeah, the change with streaming music, with Spotify and probably to a lesser extent, Apple's streaming thing. But that ability to really personalise your music now is intriguing. Like the onslaught of country music is fascinating.
Well, I think a lot of that's got to do with the fact that it's, generally speaking, being played by real people.
Yep. Yeah,
I think that's part of the attraction.
You get Fred again. I think
What's
his name's
that,
Fred
Fred?
again. He just turns up somewhere and announces that this Friday he'll do a show. So he did one out in the Spit at the end of last year, one week's notice, and got 30,000 people to it.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, he's great. But then he'll go and do a coffee shop and just take his decks in and just start playing there and just say, I'm here for an hour, come on down, at Scotty's coffee shop. Wow. He's just captured a lot of attention and curiosity by doing that. And Fisher, who lives here, he's huge. So DJs are still killing it, and those dance music festivals are still going massive. But country has just grown over the last 10, 15 years, just really built a groundswell, especially the onslaught of the more American style. Like Keith Urban's been a massive part of it.
Yeah. The popularity of Taylor Swift must have had she's been done a world tour that's been the biggest grossing tour ever.
Yes. Yeah, she's crossed all genres. She's a phenomenon. I mean, but I remember the last time the Chicks toured, formerly the Dixie Chicks. Like no radio support, no media appearances, still sold out. Rod Laver.
So there's a groundswell of support for it.
So there are. I mean, you've got Triple M have got a country channel. You've got Kicks Country, which is an Australian radio network chain of stations. They're hugely influential. And then, look at Luke Combs has just done. Gone through and just nailed it 60, 80,000 a night, 2 and 3 nights running. Yeah. So country music in Australia is massively taking off, which there's guitars and drums and there's guys doing it different. The Shabuzi guy, we were on the same bill as him over at CMA Fest in America. We were on an hour a bit after him. Like they run through, they've got CMA Fest is this 1 week in Nashville. I think it's 5 days. There's about 7 stages in downtown that are all free. They are going from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. every day. Every band plays 25 minutes with a 15-minute changeover. Wow. There is no sound checking. There is no... You've got a stereo line in for your tracks if you've got them. Yeah. Like it's just a machine. Yeah. And then it all stops at 6 o'clock and you go over to the big stadium. It's got 70,000 seats, Nissan Stadium. And that's where 4 to 5 acts play that night and do 40-minute shows. And that's Keith, Luke Combs, Lainey Wilson, like all the big guys do that. But they make a TV show while they're doing it. So they shoot a TV thing, which is like last year was hosted by Jelly Roll and Ashley McBride. It's hilarious because they're going, he goes, all right, guys, while the band's changing over, we're going to do the intro for the show. Now you have to pretend that it's the last night and you're about to see such and such. All right, everybody ready? And the Yanks just love it. They go, oh yeah, we're going to be with the TV audience. Be great because Americans are great participators. But Shabuzi, really, really different show. But he's had that one hit that is so big and there was thousands of people waiting and they sat through his 20 minutes until he got to that. Yeah. And then he played it twice in a row, went 3 or 4 minutes over and screwed everyone. They screwed the schedule up. But, he's had his moment. But it's a mashup of Get Tipsy. Yeah. He's just taken that. Yeah. But it's one of those novelty, different sorts of things. But country music as just, as a genre, it's just massive.
Well, it always was big in the States. Yeah. But I guess it is one of those things where even here now I see there are venues that are putting on country. Yeah. Like a night specifically for country, which never happened back in the day.
No, well, we did one a couple of Straight A weekend. Yeah. We did Beanley Tavern and then Burleigh Town Tavern.
Which are ABC. Our friend Michael Clark, who's moved to Darwin. Yes. Clarkie's been doing a whole country thing and being very successful up there.
Yeah. It's a genre that embraces all sorts of different people. Now you look at the people who are massive
It's
at
a
the moment.
broad age group that it appeals to too.
Broad age group. You know, I mean, we got to go to Stagecoach last year, which is, it's the biggest, 3-day country festival in the world. Mm-hmm. It's on the same site as Coachella. Same people put it on, same promoters.
Okay.
They do
Is
it
it a
2
Live
weeks.
Nation thing?
No, I don't know. But it's 2 weeks after Coachella. Mm-hmm. They just change a few of the stage configurations around. Like, it's massive. And that was on the one, we played one day, and then but our artist passes, we were able to go every day.
Yep.
And in the backstage area, the artist area. And, I think on one particular night we saw Post Malone, who did a 45-minute set of country covers because his record hadn't come out yet. Oh. And he was fabulous. The guy's just got this, he's just charming. He just wanders around with a smile on his face, and he's good.
Yeah.
And the band he had Aaron Sterling playing drums and all of these just killer players.
Yeah.
Did not muck around. But did covers that weren't obvious covers. So respected the genre.
Yep.
And he was great. Then we saw Willie Nelson on the same night.
Oh, wow.
And he's 91, just came out with his guitar and he's
on the road again.
Son or grandson's
Did he
playing
play on
with
the road
him.
again?
Yeah.
He can't not play it, I suppose.
He did 45 minutes. And then Morgan Wallen and Hardy, all on the same night. Mm. And then over in the other venue where the Beach Boys were playing. The range of musical experiences you'll get, there's a big step between Hardy and Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
But equal respect for both. Mm. People just loved it.
Yeah.
And Willie was so good. 91, he still got it. And played all his solos and everything.
Just having the career that he has, he's just out there doing it because he loves it. Because he obviously wouldn't need the money, one would think. Or did the taxation system get to him over there?
I think Willie's might have had a few moments along the way.
He's had a few run-ins. There was a time when the taxation department was after him because he hadn't paid whatever he was supposed to pay.
Just leave Willie alone. Let Willie be Willie.
Free Willie.
Yes, Free Willie. I think there were shirts about that at the time. He was great. It was great to see an absolute legend.
Yeah.
And, a young audience, absolutely. I mean,
he's written so many great songs.
Yeah.
If he did a 40-minute set, they're all going to be number one hits.
Yeah, all classics.
Yeah.
It's Willie. And so quiet, no bells and whistles, just acoustic guitars, no drums, anything.
Oh, wow.
Just two acoustic guitars, 80,000 people.
Wow. Hushed,
listening to Willie, showing due respect.
Wow.
Phenomenal. Yeah, it was great to watch. So yeah, I mean, I like that there's so many genres of music that have found audiences. I mentioned before Parkway Drive, their tour has been a huge success. I don't know a radio station that's ever played a Parkway Drive song.
But that genre it's always had a fan base that are really, really loyal.
Yeah.
They're a great fan base to have.
Yeah, absolutely invested. Which is it's good. So there are lots of positives out there in the world musically. I mean, it's harder than ever for people to
break through in the first place.
Break through and make money out of it, you know, to try and the controversies around that.
What would you say would be an absolute highlight of everything that you've done through jingles and playing live and different bands? And
there's a lot of great memories for different reasons of just funny stuff that has happened. Mm-hmm. Like some of the greatest parts of corporate band, cover band life were just the hangs, green room hangs with people, and some of the odd stuff that happened. Mm-hmm. Some of the times I got you in trouble, which is just... I was thinking today about, do you remember we played at this is so indulgent, but we played at the some bowling club down in Kingscliff or something. Oh. Right. And there wasn't many people there. And these people left.
Oh, I do remember that.
We're going,
Kingscliff Bowling, Kingscliff Bowls Club.
Where are you going? We're going to the surf club. And I've just said, don't go to the surf club. Everyone there's on drugs. And some surf club devotee who was holding up the bar just yells out, "What did you say about the surf club?" But he didn't realise the drummer was speaking, so he teed off at you.
Yes, he was very upset with me.
That was so funny.
And then we went outside to load out and we found that he'd covered my van in tomato sauce.
Well, he tried to. So, yeah, he'd gone to sauce your van, but he'd used little sauce packets. So he got halfway through wanker, like what and half an N, and then there's this pile of sauce packets on the ground. See, to me, that's a great memory.
It's a funny one. I mean, remember the Boomer van? There was a long while you had the Boomer van.
Boomer dog food. Yeah,
the Boomer van. And we were playing, this is one of the things that I specifically remember from playing at Billy's Beach House.
Yes.
On a Sunday night. And where we would load in, we would load in this back laneway to get access to load into the gear into the stage area.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the security team would, if they had to remove somebody, most likely the place that they would remove them was down the lane where we would load the gear in.
Yep.
And unfortunately, your van I don't know how often you parked it there, but this particular night, your van was parked there, and the guy, I think, smashed every window in your van, didn't he?
No, just the driver's side window. Yeah, punched the driver's side window. And there was blood and glass everywhere. And then we loaded out and I had to drive down, and there's, the Caltex on Gold Coast Highway near Broadbeach there, where the Macca's is.
Yeah.
I've rolled in there and just, opened the door and swept out blood, the broken glass, and started hosing blood off the van. And the poor guy inside has hit the button to not let anyone in. But it happened 3 times. I went through 3 windows at Billy's. Yeah, didn't learn my lesson there. No, but I mean, I think the highlight at the moment is I didn't think, since I've been able to get been playing with Casey Barnes, like if you said to me, you'll be 58 and, playing in Nashville or doing the stage, doing Stagecoach or CMC Rocks and playing, being able to be in a show that you have input, like Barnsley's really collaborative. It's his show and you just throw ideas up, and if he doesn't want to do them, we don't do them and all of that. But he's really collaborative. He's into ideas, and he and I have a lot of banter on stage. And so I think I just never thought that opportunity would come along to be able to sort of be involved in that. So that's probably, I appreciate every one of those moments, because there's a ton of great drummers that could do the Barnes gig.
But you are a pretty damn good drummer.
No, I'm truly not. Like, thank God for click tracks.
No, I
like
do.
putting because I didn't mean that to sound like I didn't want to gump that. Like, there's
you play.
The thing is, I like
play quite well.
I like entertaining people.
I mean, there are probably technically better drummers around.
Tons of them, but I like entertaining people.
Yeah.
So the thing is, for the Barnes show, he likes that I can tell some jokes, and if something goes wrong,
you can cover it.
I can talk for 3 minutes about something stupid and get some laughter because of the background with doing comedy songs and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like we used to talk about being like Chris Isaacs and Kenny. Like they had that, his drummer. They had that kind of relationship. Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of I just never thought I'd still have that opportunity, arthritic and all the rest of it. But I enjoy it, and it's good fun, and it's nice to be given that chance. Okay, so on the other side of the coin of that, is there anything that you can say that you regret doing, or not so much even regret, but a decision that you made that didn't turn out very well for you? That you could go, like, if there was ever anything that I could go back in time and not do that stupid thing. You want to turn this into a 24-part series? The the biggest regret musically, just talking purely musically, was when I was 12, I had the chance to learn piano and I wasn't interested. I just wanted to play the drums. And that's my one regret. Okay. Because I think melodically and, you know, I write jingles and I write, you know, I write, like even with Barnsley's show, I come up with ideas for transitions between songs and musical things and stuff like that. But I don't have the knowledge to express myself properly. Yeah. So I'm always clutching at trying to get the idea across. Yeah. Yeah, I regret that. Like with those, that it's become not...
Wouldn't have been an option now anyway, probably.
No, not really an option now, but the knowledge that would have come with it, to be able to speak with you in your own language about keys and chords and that, rather than just going, it's kind of like that, but I want it, you know, that bit that went, I don't want it to go. So that's been a frustration, and that's the major regret, is that I didn't learn a melody instrument, and not so much for huge amounts of theory and everything, but just be able to communicate with the people I work with what I'm thinking and be able to make sense of it. Yeah. So that's probably the dumbest thing that I did from a musical point of view. You could switch to the other 28 parts of life and we go down some dark places, but yes, musically, that's it.
You've been through this whole journey from when you started, and things are so different now. What would you do differently if you were starting over again today? And would you be quite happy and encourage both your son and your daughter to be a part of the music industry?
That's an intriguing one. I've talked to Sam about it because he has got a voice. You know, he's got the beginnings of being a singer, but he's just doesn't have the passion for it. He loves music. Like he came to me a few months ago. He goes, "Hey Dad, I found this really cool song. It's called Stand By Me by a guy called Ben E. King." Okay, how the hell do you find that? He said, TikTok. So, you know, interesting. And Tony, she's found her own way in the world in what she does with, I mean, she's playing drums at home for fun, but she's found her way in the world with, she does this outdoor education stuff, takes a bunch of private school year nines up into a mountain where they've got no phone service and they have to carry their own food, and you know, they hike for 4 days. What a great
concept.
And she does great in that. So would I get into, I think that if you want to be part of a band, then yes, be good at your instrument. But it's the same as most things in life. Like, show up on time, be easy to work with, have a good attitude, enjoy yourself, have fun with it, you know, and be a team player. Because I know in my business, I think in most businesses, like the proficiency, as long as the proficiency is at a certain point, then it becomes who you are as a human. You know, can I trust you in front of the clients? Are you going to, you know, are you good fun to be around? Are you not watching the clock here? So I think from a music perspective, because it's so easy for musicians to get a bad rap, you know, you only need one negative experience with a promoter or whoever's hiring you. Yeah. You know, we're in a field where sometimes you get to drink when you work. So if you don't have control, and we've all, like, I've had a couple of shockers over the journey, you know, gloriously so.
Alcohol is a very dangerous thing in our industry. Yeah. I mean, most of the things that I've seen where things have gone pear-shaped with people's temperaments and their ability to do their job all revolve around misuse of alcohol.
Yeah, or substance of some sort. Yeah. So, I mean, so if you want to be part of a team, like I would go, you know, be good at what you do, have several strings to your bow. Like we discussed before, I'm not getting gigs if it's only drums. I get to be with people because
you bring something extra.
Bring something extra, and I'll bother to learn the stuff, and I tend to not make too many mistakes because I keep it really simple. But I've always loved the real simple players as well. You
Yeah.
know, Max Weinberg, Phil Rudd. I think the Chop Monsters are amazing. Those guys, they're just ridiculous. I'm in awe of them, but it's not my thing. So have some strings to your bow. You want to be good. And in these days, that doesn't have to be all on stage is interesting too. Like you can be great. You be great at social media. And hey, you're a good bass player, but you're great at social media, or you're a really good editor.
When we first started, being in a band was about you. Your contribution was learn your stuff, turn up to the gig, do a great gig.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, there was an agent and possibly management.
Yeah.
And realistically, at the end of the day, as long as you learnt your stuff, turned up and and played the stuff live and did a great show, that's as far as it really, really went. Whereas these days, bands really have to almost take responsibility for all of their own marketing and promotion and all those other sides of the industry that used to be handled by somebody else.
Yeah.
Even the venues to some degree, like remember when we first started, venues would do all the marketing and promotion. If they wanted people to come to their venue, it wasn't up to the band to do any of the marketing. Whereas nowadays it seems to have been flipped around and venue will book a band, but they do very minimal amount of marketing. It's up to the band to actually do their own marketing.
The old days was the venue says, we'll get them here and your job's to keep them here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and make sure they keep drinking.
Yeah.
You know, keep spending money.
Yep.
The more they spend at the bar, the better a band you are. We don't even care about the dance floor unless it makes them thirsty.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so I think you've got to have strings to your bow. I think if you wanted to, going back to Sam and, kids going in the industry, if you want to be the guy, then you have to have, or the girl or the person, the main person, then you have to have an energy for marketing and you have to have the energy to do all of that stuff. Like Casey, Barnes is phenomenal at fan engagement, at social media. Like he just works incredibly hard at that stuff. Mm-hmm. All of the one percenters that happen prior to you getting on the stage and after you finish. He worked because it's such a huge part of trying to be, the guy.
And building a fan base. And building a fan base is one thing, but it's also looking after the fan base that you already have.
Well, and just staying, you got to put out so much more material now, and so I think it's still an industry to get into, and you can get into it at varying levels. Mm-hmm. Based on the skill set that you can bring or the multiple skill sets that you can bring. But in the end of it all, it comes down to, don't be an asshole. Like, put your ego in check. Everyone's got a bit of an ego because I think to perform, you've got to have a bit of an ego to step on a stage and entertain people. There's got to be something there. But amongst in your work environment, be a good human, know your stuff. Don't let the team down, carry yourself well, and then, be positive about it. And it's funny, after a while in bands, you all, like with the Barnes band, Benny's catering officer, Ben Crawford, our bass player. He's a multi-talented guy. He's an engineer. He can edit. He can do all of these amazing things. He plays guitar. He plays bass. And he understands where to get great food. And he's brilliant at it.
Yep.
So that's a real plus when you're travelling together. So you're good travel mates. Jezza, great guitar player, can sing real high too. So that's a huge advantage. So everyone finds their spot, but you've got to kind of get along together. Dan, our sound guy, heaps of experience, been on for years, knows every trick in the trade, but knows everybody in the business as well. So gets along really well with people. So I think that's it. You got to do your job well, but you got to be a good people person because you got to be able to get along with people and be a low maintenance human to engage with, because there's so much choice on who could not only fill a spot in the band, but who could play a gig, who you can book on a Thursday night at whatever. Like there's hundreds of choices out there.
Yeah.
So who's going to be the person that's, I know when I book them, they're reliable, they turn up on time, they don't give me any dramas, they do their job really well, and I like them as a person.
Yeah.
So you've got to be You can't be an asshole anymore. And the days of the whole, trash hotel rooms and be all, nah, that's all gone. No one's got that sort of pull anymore.
I mean, the funny thing is back when that stuff happened, that was a way of getting publicity.
Yes.
Bands gained a certain amount of notoriety because of doing that sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah. Some bands did.
Probably had to pay the price for it, but then they probably could afford it.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, the world's a different place monetarily. The amount of money that was in the industry back then for those type of touring acts is very different from now.
Yeah.
It's more expensive to tour than it ever has been. The cost of travelling is more expensive.
You can't make money out of selling music anymore.
Yeah.
There just isn't, unless you're a shareholder in Spotify. That's the only way to make money huge money out of Spotify. Unless you're the top, they did the figures got released the other day, like the point, it's not that different to any other industry. Anything in the world, the 0.01% make 80% of the money.
Yeah.
In fabricating steel, in building, in pharmaceuticals, in whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's a small amount make the huge coin. A lot of people sort of sit in the middle, and there's people who don't have a really hard time. That's a life thing.
Yeah.
But I think the advent of streaming music, and now people expecting, hey, for $12 a month I can get all the music I want. Yeah.
The rate of change of the way things are happening now is probably faster than it ever has been. Have you had any experience with AI?
Yes, only from the sense of, I mean, with our production company, we're at the back end, we're seeing some benefits with AI, just in speeding up processes in video editing and those sorts of things. In terms of on the road, we to entertain ourselves, and we use a few of them in our pre-show and post-show music that gets played at shows. Is that Ben got on? I can't even remember. I don't know what it is, but it writes. You just put input and it writes you a song,
like
a country song.
Suno AI or one of those.
Yeah. So it's that. Yeah. So we've got about 4 of them. Like we've got one dedicated to Dan, our sound guy, Vapey Dan, because he's a vapist. And it's supremely funny to us. It makes no sense to anyone else. So we're seeing that, and I know that there is actual AI bands out there and AI artists on. So it is scary. I think this is where the live music experience, with all of this other stuff that goes on, the live music experience and the human beings' need for connection and a shared experience is why sport is so good.
Yeah.
That's why 95,000 people go to the MCG for sporting events, is that shared connection over watching something. And so I think that the live music is still the saviour for music on that front, because, you might end up having AI artists and projections and all that. I know there was an ABBA tour done all with holograms or a few shows.
That's true.
So it'll get there, but you'll never match that connection that you can get with an artist or a band that you crowd in to see with 80,000 others.
It'll be very...
But recording-wise, it's going to be painful. And even movies, I know there's a lot of conjecture at the Oscars this year because of the amount of artificial intelligence used in a couple of the nominated films. Like, you have to start declaring that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's not made by
Well, I mean,
people.
that was part of what when they had the writers' strike, part of that strike was about people being asked to come in and having their body scanned and from every angle and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, thank you very much. We've got you. Your services won't be required anymore.
Yeah, extras being able to, yeah, that's the dark side of it. And they go, they say, 80% of jobs will be done by AI. Well, great. No one's got a job, so no one's earning any money, so no one can buy anything, so the economy collapses. So the world ends. And to finish on that extremely positive note, Scotty, I don't know, it'll work itself out. But I think there's an energy that you get from seeing someone play a song, and sometimes it's one guy on an acoustic guitar and someone sitting in the corner of a tiny little gig is watching, and that song for them generates a memory or or happens in a moment where something's going on and there's a connection with them, and you won't be able to replicate that.
Yeah.
And then the shared experience of, I was part of 80,000 at Luke Combs the other night, and we're all singing along to Be Never Broke My Heart at the same time, and the energy that came out of the stadium, I'll remember that forever. A friend of mine was telling me she went, a lady in an agency we work with, they flew to Luke Combs in Melbourne. She just goes, it was just the greatest night of the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So you won't get that out of artificial intelligence.
No, that's very true.
Yeah. So we'll be right.
We'll be right.
Don't panic. We'll be okay.
Yeah.
Mate, I'm Captain Positive. I'm all about the positivity.
Captain Positive.
Captain Positive's back. Don't worry about that.
Thank you very much, Blake.
Mate, thank you.
Good
Thanks
to see
for mic technique. What a dickhead.
It's been a while. We haven't seen each other for
I haven't
quite
seen
a
you
while.
for 2 years.
Holy
I worked
shit.
it out.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
This is what happens the way the brain works, right? Tomorrow I'll think of about 15 really cool things I should have said.
Yeah.
And funny things.
Everyone always says that. I completely forgot about this whole thing that happened, and it's getting old. The brain's not working the same way as it used to.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me, and I appreciate you doing the series, because it's good. This stuff will be captured forever now. So
yeah,
and you've had a bunch of interesting people on there.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
I really enjoy doing the. I thought about people said, you can do a whole thing online and have someone else, and it's like there's nothing like being face to face and doing that one-on-one face to face.
Yeah, Rogan says the same thing. I mean, he's the best in the world at it, but he goes, Zoom, he won't do Zooms. He goes, they don't work. I need to be across the table to get the energy of the conversation.
Absolutely.
So, mate, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in. Hope you made it this far.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Wazza, that's disgraceful.
You
rein it in, son. Sorry. I apologise. It's all my fault.
Thank you for watching. Hopefully we'll see you on the next one. Or I will. Wazza will be watching.
I'll be back 4 years from now with some bullshit story that I made up.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.